Good morning, everyone. Great recovery over like the past 5 trading days. We have Apple booming back up, and I know I mentioned this earlier in the Discord, but the SPY right now is testing that like 441 level, and just a couple days ago, the SPY was at 410. Like, that's a giant swing for the S&P 500.
Yeah, it really is, actually. That's a pretty big swing. And looking at the market in general, I love the way it's breaking out this morning. We're breaking above that 440 resistance, which is nice. I know that we've had a few touches around 439 to 440 over the past few days, and we failed to break. So it's good to see the breakout. And the thing I really like, Mike, is the market's doing very well ever since Powell spoke yesterday during that testimony. And I feel like that today during the testimony, the market might start ripping back to the upside if he can keep the same effect on the market. It's just, I thought he had some really good things to say, obviously, and he obviously calmed down, I think, a lot of the a lot of investors' fears right now. Obviously, a lot of stuff was going on with rates and stuff like that, but he says that we're still going to be raising rates, so that was good to hear.
Yeah, let's go, Sean. He has a ton of energy today. Thank you guys so much for joining. Let us know what plays you're watching, and we could definitely take a look at them. Tom, we have Hunter mentioning snow and how it recovered a decent amount from their bottom in after hours. Hunter's hoping to see them go a lot lower for some cash secured puts soon. Yeah, Hunter, that one, snow got smacked yesterday, and they're down 15% right now, but they were trading a lot lower, I guess you can say yesterday at close.
Yeah, that's insane. I could not believe they were all the way down to $184 there, Mike. Like, whenever we were looking at this, I was blown away. And the thing that really blew me away is that they had decent numbers too. So it's pretty crazy to see them down this much. I know they cut their guidance, but their year over year growth was amazing. So I was a little surprised to see them tank off that much. But yeah, I mean, hopefully it does go lower. That would make a nice opportunity for cash secured puts. And even where we're at now, it's probably not a bad opportunity.
True that. Alrighty, so I'm doing a quick glance at my watch list. It looks like we are seeing a little bit of profit taking in some of these companies. If you look at, let's say, Square as an example, that one, it's not that it's like tanking down, Tom, but I am noticing that, while the market itself is rocketing up, and while that's really good for, most stocks, some of these stocks are definitely lagging behind just a little bit, like Square, like MU a little bit, and a couple other ones. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, a lot of stocks are in the reds today, and a lot of them are the growth plays. We have Spce down, Lucid's down again. I know they had a terrible earnings report earlier in the week, and it looks like they might be testing some of these lows of this week around 24, and then even down here around 23.50. So we'll have to see if some of these EV companies can continue to hold up. I know they've had a lot of issues in the short term, especially with Rivian and Lucid. If we go check out Rivian, they're also going lower, and you can see how much Rivian sold off yesterday. That was a pretty steep sell-off there. So if Rivian breaks that low of day today, they might continue on a big run to the downside.
Alrighty. How's your Intel doing?
Intel, let's see it today. It's actually doing pretty good. It's coming back to the upside. It did have a pretty bad opening, though, this morning. Obviously, we gapped down a little bit, but it is recovering back, which is nice to see. I know Intel was at a pretty big resistance given $49. That was a pretty easy hit right there. We hit $48.99, then went right down.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's really not looking too bad, though. Like, even though it was, like, right at that $47.50 level, it almost recovered back up like a full dollar, and it's looking decent. So that's good to see. And Tom, I'll say, like, Intel, of course, is not one of those stocks like AMD or NVIDIA in the sense where it'll just have, like, 13% up days and 13% down days. I feel like Intel, it moves a little bit slower, but when it's in an uptrend, like, normally it's pretty consistent.
Yeah, it is, and we can actually see this bottom support line here of like $43.50. You can see how much uptrends we've had after touching this level, and it's happened quite a bit over the past few years. Hopefully it continues up after this time. I know this was another test of that support. Looks like we are kind of going back up now, so hopefully it keeps going. Like you said, sometimes whenever this one starts moving up, it gets pretty explosive. I know that at the beginning of 2021, this stock was gapping up in some pretty major ways and running up and testing $70. So we'll have to see if it can run up above, $60 again. I'd be very, very happy. So hopefully we see it recover up. I know that this green support line that I marked down here has been very crucial in the past, and I just can't believe we bounced off of it again. Like, how many touches of this support is there going to happen? Like, there's been almost like 10 touches on this in the past 3 or 4 years.
True that. And then Vicky also mentioned how Intel was downgraded this morning. That's very true. Morgan Stanley downgraded Intel shares, and they announced a $47 price target. So that's interesting, and that definitely added to the negative momentum earlier today. But so far, it looks pretty decent so far. Welcome to the stream, Mason. Let us know what plays you're watching. We can definitely take a look at them. What else do we have moving, Tom? Do you see any plays that are moving in a big way?
Let's see. I got to go back to the top of my watch list. I was looking at everything in the red today. I know some of these space stocks are going down in a major way, like ASTR, RKLB. They're starting to sell off quite a bit today, down like 2% on each of those. But some stocks moving up, Mike, are actually ChargePoint. I know that they moved up last night with their earnings, and it looks like they are kind of holding their ground here. Looks like at market open, they started coming back down a little bit, but we can see in pre-market, they were coming up in a pretty good way there, which is nice. And actually, Mike, I know that we just talked about Rivian and Lucid going down today, but they turned right around. Look at that big wick that they made, and they're actually coming back up into the green today. I believe Rivian also had a downgrade yesterday by some company.
Huh. Yeah. So those like EV stocks have been crazy, like Rivian, Lucid, even Tesla and NIO, even Ford. A lot of them have been struggling lately, which, you can't totally blame on the, specific company, because there's just been like negative sentiment overall in the market. But yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah, it has. And by the way, just to clarify, the company that cut Rivian's target yesterday was RBC. They cut the target from 165 down to $116, but they did maintain their outperform rating. But that was a pretty big cut on the price there, similar to how Intel had a pretty big cut.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So it looks like, let's see. I mean, the worst stock on my watch list right now is SPCE. This one is down around like 3% or so. Tom, are you seeing like any technical patterns on SPCE, or do you have any thoughts on this one?
Let's see it on the daily chart, because I've been really waiting for them to start to go back up in a major way, not more of in an intraday level, but on like a daily level. I'd love to see them come back up above $10 a share. I think that would be really cool to see with SPCE, and it looks like they are just pointing back to the downside today. They're just selling off at open, and it's not in a good setup, in my opinion, especially if we break below this like $9 support. That'll definitely worry me today. So hopefully it holds up. But to me, Mike, it's holding its ground. It's trying to consolidate. But I think that with the way we bounced off of $10, it looks like SPCE is starting to turn over, and I would expect them to go red today unless we saw some good news or something like that come out.
Gotcha. Alrighty, welcome to the stream, Mike. Thanks for joining. Let's see. UPS is looking decent. I don't know if you saw that one, Tom. It's up around 1.5%. It's nothing crazy, but it's decent movement today, and it's at its high of day.
Yeah, it is. And actually on the daily, UPS isn't doing bad. I know that they had that big gap up with earnings, and it looked like they were going to keep running, but they gave it all back. As we've seen lately, a lot of the earnings plays that move up end up giving all the gains back over the next few days. And looks like UPS was another one of those cases, but I'm glad to see them going up. They definitely had the momentum today, and I love the way that they broke out above that high of yesterday. I think that shows that they have a lot of momentum, like you said, Mike. So hopefully we see it continue, but I know UPS isn't the biggest mover in the market, but I know sometimes we get a nice like 2-3% pop out of them.
True that. True. Let's see. I'm just trying to find some good plays, Tom. Like, I feel like, the market's looking decent today, but I'm kind of struggling to find some plays that are like really breaking out.
Yeah, it looks like DWAC is having a pretty good morning again. I know this stock keeps having it keeps trying to push higher day after day. We can see yesterday it got pretty high in the morning, and then it sold off in a major way. And it sold off right after it passed above a key price point of $100 a share. So Looks like DWAC is getting really close to that psychological level once again today. So maybe this stock will continue up, but I don't know. This stock's been all over the place, Mike. I just wanted to point it out because it's up 3% and it does get some pretty good, it does have some pretty good volatility. So maybe we will continue to see this one run. But it seems like a lot of these safer stocks are up today, Mike. Like we have Kraft Heinz back in the green, Carrier is in the green again, and stocks like Target are like leading my watch list to the upside today. It's kind of insane to see these slower movers just continue to dominate the market here.
Yeah, that is true. Like even yesterday we saw like Caterpillar really boom up. So it's actually a really good point, Tom. Like we are seeing some of these like really slow moving plays start to move, and like even Starbucks yesterday too, Tom. Like I know it wasn't like any crazy move, but still like, it's looking pretty decent, and there's a lot of value plays out there like that.
Yeah, there are, and a lot of them are honestly at good longer term levels too. Like I love Starbucks right now for the long term. I think they're at a good price point to at least start averaging in. You can maybe even sell a put down there like the 85 strike or even like 87 or 90 if you want to be more aggressive. But I really like this one for the long term, and also I like some of these other ones like Carrier. They've been dipping down in a pretty big way recently, so I'm definitely eyeing up some of these plays for the longer term down here for sure.
Yeah, cool. Let's see. It looks like, I'm going to do a check-in on DraftKings really quickly. DraftKings is down 1% today. They're right around that $23 level. It's not looking bad, but of course it had one really good pop-up over like the past couple weeks. Like if we go to like maybe like a 2-week analysis, we could see that this stock was trading for $16 on the 22nd, and then it hit highs of 25 just a couple days ago, and right now it's at 23. So it is pulling back a tiny bit right now, but still, like Tom, it had like nearly a 55 or a 50% run up over the course of like 5 trading days.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, that's an insane run, Mike. 55%. I know it comes from that low of pre-market down there at 116 from that one bad earnings report, but still, I mean, that's insane to see it go up 55% in like 5 trading days. You're averaging almost like 10% a day at that point. So that's insane, Mike. And I would not be surprised if this one consolidated for a few days before pushing higher with how much it went up. So I feel like the DraftKings downwards movement today isn't necessarily the worst. I will say, as long as we hold up above $20, I'll be pretty happy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right. Okay, Tom. So it looks like more and more of my watch list is going into the red. We have NEO currently leading the way to the downside, down 3.5%. NEO is right around that $21 level, and it looks like they have support right around like $20 and I guess you say like $20.50.
Yeah, they really do. They've had a lot of bounces there. I know yesterday they got really close to 20.50 and bounced in the middle of the day. We've definitely been seeing lots of movement around there. So definitely eye up 20.50 like Mike said. We're actually about to fall through $21 here. So honestly, this one looks like a pretty good play to the downside in my opinion, Mike. At least in the short term, it looks like it might continue down here. Another EV play that's especially another China EV play is going to be Xpev. They're down a similar amount, and honestly, the setup looks pretty similar to NEO. Maybe these China plays are starting to move in sympathy.
Yeah, that's true. And then even LI, Tom, LI Auto, that one's doing the same thing.
Yeah, it is. I actually forgot about them. I need to throw them on the watch list actually really quick because they've been pushed to the back of the radar lately. So definitely adding them on, but they're definitely in the same type of setup. And I will say LI has a pretty good support at like 29.50. So maybe if we fall below that, it could be a pretty good play today.
True that. All right, we have Jerry saying Boeing down 2.5%. Yeah, Boeing's getting smacked. And I actually just saw that. I just saw news that someone was ordering, I believe, more Boeing jets or some military technology. Let me see. I don't know.
BOC Aviation says they'll buy 11 Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft. So that sounds good, I guess. I don't know who BOC Aviation is, but we'll have to eye that up. And anytime you get 11 aircraft spot, that's pretty good for a company like Boeing.
Yeah, okay, here it is. Yeah, so you had that news that you just pointed out, and then you also have this news in Popular News that came out at like 44 minutes ago. It said that Boeing secures order for additional MH-47G Block 2 Chinook helicopters from the U.S. Army. So that's who it was. It was the Army who, bought more helicopters.
Wow, nice. I'm actually looking up a picture of these helicopters to see like what they look like here so we can show people on the stream, and let's check it out here. It actually looks like a pretty cool aircraft here. It's like a armored personnel carrier, so definitely good to see them selling these. I mean, I'm sure these are a pretty penny, Mike. I know these aircrafts are multiples of millions of dollars per craft, so definitely should be good for Boeing, and this is good because, in my opinion, Mike, this shows that Boeing might start to get more contracts with all this war news going on. So hopefully we keep seeing good deals come across for them.
Yeah, speaking of like the war stocks, how is like Lockheed Martin and like Raytheon doing?
They're even pulling back today a little bit. I will say they've been so explosive lately, though, that I'm not too surprised to see them start to slow down. Like Lockheed's daily chart just looked insane. Ever since they passed above 400, we ran all the way up to 450 within just a few days. Looks like RTX is also kind of pulling back here. They're turning over a lot harder on the daily chart, in my opinion. But honestly, they're just pulling back, Mike. I feel like they can keep going higher over the next couple of weeks, but we just need to give it some time because they pretty much went straight up for 2 weeks straight. So I'm not surprised to see them falling down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them got very close to all-time highs or even broke all-time highs. They had one big run-up. So I guess you could say, it's kind of expected to have a pullback, like you said. All right, so we have Sean saying, is CLF going to keep going? Let's see, CLF. I have not looked at this one in a little bit. It is currently up 2.5%. Tom, what do you have for us with like the technicals?
Yeah, for CLF, I've actually had some levels on here for a long time from the past, but I haven't eyed it up in a while. As we're rising here, we're going to be really retesting some big resistance right around. I mean, it looks like there was some resistance at $24 that we're breaking out above today. But as far as like a major resistance, I'm really seeing like $24.70. There's been a few touches around there. We can see some of these wicks from the past extend up right to that level. So like somewhere around like $24.70 to $25 even is what I would look at. But there's been a lot of volatility on this stock, Mike. Like CLF has had tons of bounces. It doesn't look like it necessarily holds up too well on the resistance levels. So definitely be careful with that. And I know that they also deal with energy. So it's going to be volatile over the next few days for sure, but hopefully it keeps going up. We continue to see oil and stuff like that soar.
Yeah, like I know that they do a lot with oil, not oil, iron and steel. So basically all commodities are on the rise right now, which would definitely help CLF. But Tom, can we go back to CLF for 1 second? I just want to point something out. We can see CLF over the past, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, like over the past 6 trading days, this thing went from like $17.70 all the way up to highs of $24.25. So it's like, even if we like zoomed out like on like a daily chart or something, anytime we've seen like giant moves like this in the past, I've noticed that it has always pulled back at least a little bit. And some examples I have would be if we go to the daily chart, if you look at like January 28th to February 10th, that was like a very similar setup to what we have now. You could say the same thing from December 27th to January 5th. You can say the same thing from October 20th to October 26th. And like there's multiple examples of this in the past, but I've noticed like every time we have a run up like this, like we always see a decent pullback. So that's just one pattern I've recognized. And plus when you go from $17.60 up to over 24 in 6 trading days, like it's, in my opinion, I just get a little bit worried of a pullback in those setups.
Yeah, me too. And steel can always keep going. We have some pretty crazy stuff going on overseas and stuff. So oil, or not oil, but commodities in general are just on fire. So steel can continue, and that can help push CLF higher. But I just feel like it's not worth the risk right now. Kind of like what Mike said. I would expect a pullback too. These are some pretty big rises that we've been seeing, and we are approaching some pretty major resistances. It seems like every time we get to these upper levels, we've been getting rejected. So I don't think I would play the breakout yet. Maybe if we see it go up over the next few days and maybe move up above this high of like 2650 up at the top, I'll eye it up a little bit more. But for right now, I don't think I'm going to look at it too hard. And another one in a very similar setup is X, or US Steel. Looks like it's moving in sympathy with CLF, given that they're both deal with steel.
Yeah. Alrighty. It looks like AMD and NVIDIA are definitely pulling down. It looks like AMD is down almost 2% today, and it's definitely trading lower. You know, it looks pretty decent to the downside. I know Jerry's been in some AMD puts, which should be awesome for him. So awesome job, Jerry. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely trading lower.
Yeah, it is. We had a bit of like a double top if you count that pre-market level this morning around like 119.25 or like 119.30. We definitely hit there at the end of the day yesterday too. So we definitely saw rejection this morning, Mike. It's not looking good for AMD. And I know that personally, I've been like looking at AMD to fall down in the shorter term a little bit more. So we'll definitely have to eye this one up. I'm really waiting for them to fall down below this level of 113. Like if we can get below that, I'll be pretty bearish on them. It probably won't happen today, but just in general, I'm waiting for that nice break.
Cool. Yeah, even like Tesla's trading lower. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah, I didn't actually today. Let's see it. Yeah, they're going a lot lower. And I'll tell you what, they keep getting rejected at this resistance. It seems like they're having a lot of issues breaking up above like $885 or $890. So definitely having a lot of issues here. And I'll be honest, I could see Tesla going down in the short term, but I don't see them like crashing and burning today or anything. I feel like they might like hold up maybe at like 860 or somewhere like that if they do keep going down.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Oh, Snow's actually trading lower too. Like, I'm just doing a quick scan and I see a lot of these like tech/software plays definitely on the at least giving back their gains.
Yeah, this is definitely a big pullback for Snow here. Hopefully we don't head back down to those after hours levels of yesterday, like 184. If we go retest the lows there, I'll be pretty sad. I'm hoping that we at least close today above $200. That would make me very, very happy. But you know, this stock's probably going to be all over the place. And again, though, Mike, like we said, this stock had pretty good numbers yesterday. You know, like their year-over-year revenue and everything was pretty good. Let's see if I still actually have it pulled up. I believe I do. Here it is. So yeah, you can see like their Q4 revenue grew 102% year over year, and their whole 2022 revenue grew 106% year over year. So they definitely had some good numbers, Mike. I know that they cut that guidance a little bit, but like we hit on in yesterday's video, it's not like they cut their guidance and they're expecting to be in the negative. They just cut their guidance from doubling over the next year to only going up 70% or just under that. So I don't know. I can't believe it's down that much off the news, but I guess like you said yesterday as well, you know, those valuations are play a big role in this. And, you know, like Hunter and a lot of people were saying Snowflake was overvalued anyways.
True. All right. So we have Iranical saying, is it too late for a put on AMD? I mean, I wouldn't say it's too late, but it's definitely not the ideal time for an entry, considering just the pattern and how it's moved already. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's too late, but I definitely would not classify it as like a grade A setup right now. But like, Tom, like what are your thoughts on like entering an AMD put now, or like, do you have any levels for us, or what are you seeing?
Yeah, I do have a bit of intraday support down here around where we're at. You know, there's been a few bounces around like 116. You could also say like 115.50. But in general, I would say it's not the best entry right now. Like you said, my main concern is that AMD's fallen straight down today from 119 and now we're all the way down to 116. I just feel like that we might see a bit of an intraday move back up. That doesn't mean that we're going to explode all the way back up to 119, but we might see like a bit of a bounce back up towards like 117 and then retest that and then move down later in the day or something. I don't know. You know, it's unusual to see stocks just go straight down all day long. And I feel like we will see a bit of a bounce back up eventually here soon. Like I said, though, I don't think we'll go straight back to the upside or anything, but I do think that we'll have a bit of an intraday bounce, kind of like yesterday. You know, we moved up at open, we moved down, tested support, and you can see the volatility AMD had. It had so much up and down movement. I kind of expect that to happen again. I am biased to the downside, but I just feel like that we're going to see some sprinkles with some small pops back up intraday, and I do think that 117 support that now will act as resistance will be a good level to look at if we do start popping back up.
Yeah, that's true. And then another huge thing to keep in mind is like a lot of it depends on the sentiment of the overall market. Like basically ever since we opened today, the market has been trading lower, but like, you know, it doesn't matter how good of a setup you like how good of a technical setup you have like with AMD for example. You know, if we have every other tech stock and we have the market overall booming to the upside, it's like AMD has a really good chance of popping up. And then it's like even if it does fall, the drop will be relatively like choppy. So a lot of it just depends on the movement of the overall market too, especially when you're trading these like I guess you can say large tech companies.
Yeah, like AMD, Apple, Facebook, stocks like that. They definitely they definitely move with the market in some pretty big ways. Sometimes, not every day, of course, but on a lot of days, we'll see AMD move with the SPY. Obviously, it's not doing it directly today, but in the past, we've seen it do it a lot. Looks like we are getting a little bit of like an intraday bounce back up. So maybe it'll be a good entry to the downside over the next like couple hours or something. But you're definitely right, Mike. The SPY is going to play a big role in this. And I'll say this, if we see the SPY fall back below 438, I'll probably be pretty bearish on some of those tech stocks. So hopefully we see the SPY hold, though. I think it would make for a pretty good day if the SPY maybe even broke above 441.50 and started pushing above 442. That would make for a really good trading day, in my opinion. And I'm really hoping to see some nice green movement, especially whenever Powell starts speaking here in about 5 minutes.
True. All right. Let's see. Sorry, I was just answering some people in Discord, but yeah, I know we were talking about AMD and like how it moves with the market and stuff. I think it's pretty interesting that AMD has a correlate or over the past year had a correlation of 0.9 to the S&P 500, which is pretty strong. Like that's
wow, that was pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. So, just be mindful of the overall market, especially when you're trading big tech plays. I do see, Tom, like Rivian and Lucid just keep getting spammed all over my Thinkorswim, and it looks like they're breaking out to the downside.
Yeah, they are. This is not a good sign at all. I know Rivian had that terrible price cut yesterday from 160 something down to 116. That's a pretty big drop. But keep in mind, 116 would mean that this stock pops. That means this stock would go up over 100% back to that target that RBC still has. So definitely some crazy levels still being thrown out there with Rivian and Lucid, Mike. But you're right. They just continue down. Lucid's down over 5%. I cannot believe that we're down below the low of yesterday with Lucid. That's pretty bad to see. I will say though, Mike, I'm not surprised. Those earnings were awful whenever we saw them come out with Lucid last week. I know that those earnings really took me by surprise. I was hoping that these companies would really focus on their production and maybe come in with some good numbers. But as we know, starting EV companies have a lot of issues getting going, and Lucid and Rivian are definitely having some short-term issues. That is for sure. And man, the stock's down 5%. And since we broke up below some of these key levels, I could see it even going lower today. I don't know how much we're going to fall, but man, it's definitely not looking good. This earnings continuation to the downside is not fun to see at all. I know a lot of retail investors have been hyping up these stocks too, so they're probably going to be pretty upset with them.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, even like DraftKings is down almost 4% today. Penn's down, Disney's down, Zoom's down, Rivian, Corsair, everything. I mean, not everything, but a lot of stocks are down. So yeah, it looks like definitely seeing some profit taking today. How is like the VIX looking?
The VIX, VXX is actually popping back up, Mike. I will say I have a support on VXX at 2450, and we did touch that like right before the market opened today, and we are bouncing back up in a pretty good way. So maybe the VIX will be a good play if we continue to see the SPY and these stocks sell off. I feel like you're right. The overall market is starting to turn over pretty bad, and if we keep seeing all these stocks in the red, I mean, who knows? I could see the SPY going lower, but I hope that we see the SPY bounce off that nice support later in the day. But it's not looking good, and the VIX is definitely back on the uptrend this morning.
True that. How's like oil looking?
Oil, let's see. I know crude oil was looking pretty good this morning. It was up to 116 at like 2 in the morning last night, but it did pull back down to around 107. We are about to move back above $110 a barrel again. Crude oil has been all over the place the past few days, Mike. It's very, very volatile. It looks like it is coming up. As far as some of the oil stocks, it looks like Exxon and Mobil is just holding up above $80 a share. I know that's been a pretty big level for them. I know Chevron has been breaking out day after day, and they just hit that like resistance from yesterday at 155. But look at Chevron on the daily chart. Like this is getting very, very explosive. Over the past 5 or 6 days, it seems like the oil stocks and then stocks like X for US Steel or CLF have just been going insane.
Oh yeah, it's been crazy. Like even the potash stocks have been moving a ton too, like MOS and IPI and like even NTR. They're all just booming to the upside, and these potash stocks just keep on going.
Yeah, they do. I saw IPI was doing pretty good actually, breaking out today up 4% again. So that's great to see for them. I know it seems like they just continue to the upside day after day, and I know we have to expect a pullback at some point, but as long as you keep playing those breakouts, it looks like it's working out pretty well.
Yeah, true that. True that. Just trying to find some movers, Tom. Like, we are seeing some breakouts to the downside, which is decent. It looks like Snap just popped up on my watch list. They are up, or not up, they're down about 3%, and they're also breaking down, and it looks like they're getting closer and closer to that, like, $35 support.
Yeah, they are. That's a pretty big support down there. So hopefully they end up bouncing on it. Let's check that out on the daily chart. Yeah, if they fall below 35, it's not going to look pretty, Mike. I could see them possibly coming back down to around $30 if they start to break that. So hopefully we hold up. But I will say Snap's daily chart doesn't look too good to me, Mike. Like we've had a lot of rejections here around this $40 resistance, and we just failed to break out. So in the short term, I'm definitely going to be eyeing this one up to the downside.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's see. Like even I'm sure they'll do fine over the long term. I do not know too much about their fundamentals, so I'd have to really look deep into them to get an accurate idea. But their long-term chart has been pretty decent so far. Like they IPO'd back in 2017. It looks like. At around like $24. They fell all the way down to like $4.80, and then they had highs of like 83. So it's definitely a volatile one. So maybe if it falls lower and if their fundamentals are pretty awesome, then maybe I would consider some short puts on it. But there's a lot of ifs there.
Yeah, there definitely is, and I think it'll be pretty good for the long term. I mean, the thing that sucks right now is that all social media stocks are down. Whether you're looking at Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, they're all in the red. Even Pinterest is in the red. So it's insane to see all of them down. I do think that Snapchat will be pretty good for the long term. Whenever you talked about that IPO price, Mike, I will say I remember whenever this one IPO'd, and it made a lot of people angry because Snapchat at that time was an up and coming app. Everybody was using it, and it had a lot of popularity, and a lot of people bought the stock. And as you know, the stock went from $20 down to like $5. And personally, I know a lot of people that lost on Snapchat. So hopefully it keeps going up in the long term. I think it'll be a pretty good company. It's a very popular app, and I see people use it constantly. So I think it'll be decent, but obviously those fundamentals and stuff are going to play a huge role. So we definitely have to find a good price point to buy it at. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at some of their revenue like year by year. So like in 2021, they had a revenue of around like $4.1 billion. In 2020, they had revenue of like $2.5 billion. And then in 2019, it was $1.7 billion. So clearly like they're doing a good job at growing their revenue. And over this past year, it was the first year where they became cash flow positive. So that's awesome. So, that is really good to see. So I would just have to do like a deeper look at their fundamentals. They are trading at a price to sales ratio of like 14, which in my opinion is a little high for this play. But I don't know. I just have to look into it a little bit more to fully analyze it.
Yeah, me too. And like I said, all the other social media companies are down too. So don't hit Snapchat too hard for falling in the short term. Even Facebook is down like over 50% just about. So it's had some pretty big drops in general. Let's actually see the percentage there. I don't think it's quite 50%. Let's see. To where we're at now, it's like 46%. The low was right around 50%. So yeah, definitely some big drops here out of the social media companies in general. And Mike, I know a lot of people have blamed, like for example, like COVID going away and stuff like that, possibly, and then also the iOS App Store has had those changes with their privacy policy. So obviously that hurt Facebook's ad revenue, and it might affect some other companies' revenues as well. So that could be another reason why they're falling. And then, as we all know, Mike, DWAC is coming onto the market, and it sucks to see. I feel like it sucks to see such a big divide, because right now I feel like the thing that's bad about what's going on with DWAC is that I feel like half of the country is going to continue to use Facebook, and then like half the country is going to start using DWAC or use something else. I will say Facebook, in their last report, they did actually miss out like on their monthly active users and stuff. So that was not good to see for them. And I feel like that just the social media sector in general, Mike, is just getting a little bit bland. I think we need something new to come out as far as social media. And I do feel like that what Facebook's doing with the metaverse will be a pretty big thing when that does finally release.
Yeah, and I feel like another thing, Tom, is whenever we see like an app like get really big, you just see like Google or Facebook or someone else just buy them out, So I feel like we just see the same companies like control the social media game, Like it was just, I think like a year ago, Microsoft was trying to buy out Discord. It didn't end up going through, but the same point's still there.
Yeah, it definitely is. I really don't think anyone's going to buy DWAC unless it's like a big like parent corporation or something like that. For example, I don't see Facebook buying them or anyone like that. And the main reason is just the politics of it. Obviously the main reason DWAC is coming onto the market is straight up because of Facebook's, Twitter's, and Snapchat. All those policies are just, they're pretty bad. You know what I mean? Like you can get banned for just making a weird comment. Like you could go onto Facebook right now and make a post, and if it goes against Facebook's algorithm, you're going to get shadow banned for 30 days, and then your account will get taken off for a couple days. I know people keep talking about getting thrown in Facebook jail and all that stuff, and obviously Facebook banned Trump and all that. And the crazy thing is that Facebook bans people like Donald Trump, and then I'm still able to see stuff from like the Taliban and stuff on there. So I'm just like, it just makes no sense. But I guess these new apps will, well, obviously it's been hitting Facebook a little bit in the short term. So I think that I really believe though that with the metaverse coming out, I think that'll be really good for Facebook though. And obviously their politics aren't everybody's favorite, but I really feel like though that when that metaverse comes out, Mike, they'll do very, very well. It's just, I feel like that they're gonna maybe stay down here until they start to, have some good announcements come out and maybe get that hype back, because right now they just have so much negative stuff, and they've even had to explain themselves to Congress. It's been getting so bad.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I definitely know what you mean. And then just related to like just these social media stocks, like I know we were talking about Snapchat, and like, Snapchat has a price to sales ratio of like 14, like I said, which when you compare that to other social media stocks, like Facebook has a price to sales ratio of like 5. Google has a price to sales ratio of 7. What else? Twitter has a price to sales ratio of 5. Pinterest price to sales ratio of like 6.4. So it's like, I'm definitely gonna hold off buying Snapchat shares, because like even it seems like their valuation isn't that great right now, and even like they just became cash flow positive too. So I don't know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and it definitely is not looking good. Like it's turning over here on the daily chart. So just looking at technicals and setups, it definitely doesn't look good short term. And I'm glad we're talking about it, because I feel like over the next few days, like I said, if we fall below $35, I'm going to really eye this one up for some puts. So hopefully it plays out in a good way, and we just see some good continuation either to the upside or the downside. As long as it has some good movement, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Tom, check out RSX. This is
Oh
insane.
no. Oh my gosh, Mike, we're down another 20%. It seems like every single day this stock's down like 25%. This is insane.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so like I was not expecting RSX to boom up by any means, but I definitely was not considering, or I definitely was not expecting like another 20% move down. Like I knew it was gonna be bad, but I don't know. I guess it's been pretty hard for the Russian economy.
It has. I've seen a lot of stuff that says that the Russian stock market right now has been shut down for like 4 or 5 trading days in a row, and I'm not sure if they resumed it yet today or not, but it's definitely not good. It's so volatile that they had to shut their markets totally down. So that's definitely a bad sign. Could you imagine the world if the whole US stock market had to shut down for 5 days in a row? We'd be back in the Great Depression or something if that happened. So
God.
definitely not good for Russia, but man, I guess Russia just doesn't care because they just continue to go into Ukraine. But it's insane to see the selling pressure, and it's not even like, I know the Russian economy's bad, but at this point, Mike, we just keep seeing stuff like even like Apple's, like they're just totally done selling their products to Russia. So Russia at some point is going to have to give something up. I mean, it's getting pretty bad for them. So we'll have to see if they make an announcement soon, because I mean, what's the RSX going to do? Go to zero? Like that's insane.
Jeez, Tom. It's halted right now. RSX is completely halted, but I can't even describe how volatile this one is. I mean, the IV's
Look at the bid right now.
yeah, look at the bid, 5 cents. Ask
That's so
$32. Gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so like the IV, Tom, is like 360%. Like, that is crazy.
Gosh. That's insane. Over 300% again. I know that we were above 300% like a couple days ago, and ooh, maybe we'll almost hit 400%, Mike. At this rate, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. I'm just, that is crazy. Because it was looking decent yesterday, but clearly it was not enough. And I will say, Tom, like, the movement today, like, in RSX's price, like, there have been days where it falls like 10 or 15 or 20%, and it's like a more gradual fall. The fall today was straight down. Like, to me, it looks like someone just got like margin called, or like the algorithms are hitting this one hard, because like just look at that movement, Tom. There is not one green candle. It's getting demolished.
Yeah, it really is. A lot of volatility coming in. It's definitely not good. And with it going down, Mike, I know that we actually saw a couple questions in the Discord yesterday. And I know, we can't tell the future and everything like that. But as far as like the RSX goes, would you feel like that this is a safe stock to buy right now for the longer term? Like, a lot of people are saying, like, look, the RSX fell from 25 down to 5. It must be a good time to buy and hold, even if it keeps going down for the next few months, maybe in the next couple of years, it'll shoot right back up. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this, because in my opinion, I don't think I'd buy it. I just feel like that Russia is just a crazy country right now. And obviously, with the way that we've been boycotting them, I wouldn't be surprised if these ETFs got taken off the market eventually. So yeah. I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't buy it, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
All right, so anything can happen, because I know if I say one thing and something else happens, then I'll never hear the end of it. So anything can happen, right? RSX can go up to $20 over the next couple months, but it could also go down to like 50 cents. Now, what I will be doing is deploying strategies to short volatility with this one. Basically, when implied volatility is at 350%, and just a month ago it was at like, what is that, 20%? It's like, that is an insane just event, right? And an opportunity is there for you to short volatility. So there's a lot of things you can do, but some of the simpler ways to go is just by shorting options. So what you can do is like, you can short puts, but you don't have to like you wouldn't treat it the same as like if you're shorting puts on like Apple or DraftKings or something like that. You would short puts solely for the purpose of, taking advantage of those overpriced options. So like what you can do is like, if you go out to like the April, see the problem is I can't even get an accurate price right now because it's halted again. So, what you can do is you can go out maybe like a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. You short like some very, very far out of the money puts if you want to. And here's the thing, Tom, like the ETF is only at like, $5 right now. So basically everyone can short these puts. And you would just short far out of the money puts. And then then the problem is I was going to say you want to make sure you're delta neutral, which would require you to short shares, which is not possible right now. So what you could do instead is what some people can do is you can short calls and then you could buy shares to make sure you're delta neutral, and then you're just shorting implied volatility. So there's a lot of ways you can play it, but overall, to answer your question, I am not going to be buying this for the long term. It's just not an investment for me, and I just feel like there's way too many variables just overall.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be super risky. That's the main thing to me, is that it's going to be so risky for the long term. And I do like those strategies on playing that volatility. That'll be really good to play. But as far as like for the long term, I don't like it. It's a Russian ETF, obviously. And, we have to keep in mind, like, Russia is somewhat of the enemy right now, of course. So yeah, it's definitely not a good thing. And who knows? I feel like that these ETFs could possibly get taken off the market eventually, given how much we're going against Russia. So I don't think it's a good one for the long term either. And I just feel like that there's so many good long-term opportunities right now, even on like bank stocks. Like we can go look at like JP Morgan. They're down so much from their highs. It's looking pretty enticing for the long term. And like even stocks that we've been talking about, Mike, like Facebook, Disney, like there's lots of good longer term opportunities here. I just wanted to bring it up because I'm sure a lot of people are looking at RSX and they're like, man, like this will be a good one for the longer term. But don't always think that's the case, especially with war going on, because that's obviously a big black swan event that doesn't happen all the time. And as we always know, a lot of new traders get humbled whenever some of these crazy events go on.
Yep, very true. All right, so we have Muscle saying, do you think quarterly earnings or forecasts will be adjusted down for companies due to sanctions on Russia to import, and then parentheses, sell goods and services? See which company's revenue will be most affected. Yeah, I would assume so. Obviously any companies that do or have a lot of ties or connections or trade with Russia, I would definitely expect them to be affected. And if you're asking for like specific companies, I don't know right now. I'd have to do more research for that. But overall, we have been seeing the energy sector really boom to the upside. So like oil stocks have been booming, like ExxonMobil and Chevron. Even OXY has been crazy. You could say some of these steel and iron companies like CLF. Another industry, or I guess you could say industry or asset class that has been moving a ton has been precious metals like gold and silver, so GLD and SLV. And then we've also been seeing a lot of the potash stocks really move up too. So like you could say MOS, IPI, and even NTR. So, we're definitely seeing those stocks and industries really on the uptrend. So those are like the main ones that we've been talking about lately. Great question though.
Yeah, and as we saw, Apple quit selling to Russia the other day, so maybe that will hurt some companies' revenue a little bit, but just keep in mind, at the same time, I'm sure that a lot of companies that buy from Russia or a lot of companies that import goods into Russia, I'm sure that that's not their biggest market. Obviously China is a pretty big one, especially like for Apple and some of these companies. And then obviously, like we have China, we have all the European countries and stuff too. So I don't think that Russia will make too big of a difference for most companies, but I feel like the companies that could get affected the most are maybe some of the oil plays. I don't know, kind of like what Mike said, we don't know the exact numbers on which specific companies are buying from Russia and which specific, or like how much money they're buying from Russia too. Cause it all matters on those percentages and stuff. Like for example, if Exxon only buys like 3% of their oil from Russia, then it's not going to make too big of a difference. But, if they have like 10% of oil coming from them or something, it could be pretty big. So, there's obviously a lot of outliers here.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Alrighty. How's the market looking, Tom? I know we kind of, went off on RSX.
Yeah, we did. It looks like the SPY is pulling back to the downside very slowly. Like we talked about earlier this morning, Mike, there was a big support down here around 438. Looks like we are coming back down and testing that again. We did get rejected in pre-market right around 441.50 and like right around 442. So that's definitely not good to see. I'm hoping that we see a nice bounce here though off this support. I think that would make for a nice intraday move, but with the way we're seeing stocks fall, I would not be surprised if we continued lower today. Like we've been saying, my watch list has just slowly been getting deeper and deeper into the red as we've been going on.
Yep, I feel you. Alrighty, well, do you have any last minute plays you're watching before we close out of the stream?
Yeah, a lot of these stocks are going down, as we talked about earlier. A lot of these EV plays, especially the China EV plays, are looking particularly bad today. Like NIO is almost back down to their $20 support. That's going to be big for them. Xpev is down in a big way also. We even have stocks like SoFi moving down after their earnings from yesterday, which is unfortunate. I should say from 2 days ago, but they're definitely giving all those gains right back. So we're seeing a lot of stocks start to fall, Mike. It might be a good day for some puts. I know we talked about AMD a little bit earlier, and they kept falling right below that 116 support. Like we talked about, they had a little bit of a pop back up here, touched 117, and then now that they're on the downtrend again, they're almost back down to 114. So some of these big tech plays are still moving down in a big way. So I could see the market continuing to sell off, but hopefully we see it stop at some point. I'd love to see a turnaround, but we have to play what we're given, and it looks like we were dealt some bad cards today.
Yeah. All right, so we have DCM saying, Mike and Tom, what do you think about Walmart? It's a pretty good company. It's one of those value plays. You're not going to see the volatility with Walmart that you might see with like a Tesla or AMD or anything like that, but it's a relatively safe company. Like I said, they're just a value play, so they don't move too much, but overall I do like them, and they are establishing a pretty good support right at like 136. And Tom, they bounced off of 136 many times in the past.
Yeah, let's go check it out on the 1 year daily chart. Yeah, wow, 136 has been a huge level for Walmart. You're right. There's been so many bounces off of like 136. So definitely eye this up. It looks like they've had a lot of big moves here, and yeah, continually in the past they move up off of this, kind of like how Intel keeps moving off of their support. So definitely a good eye there, Mike. And who knows, if we start breaking out above the high of a couple weeks ago, like right around this resistance of like 140, I think we could see a pretty good move out of Walmart.
Yep. All right, and then we have Raymond saying, is CPNG going up or down? Let's see. CPNG definitely down. I mean, it's down 3.5% today. And yeah, they've been on a downtrend for months.
Yeah, they have. CPNG is... Wow, this stock has been really going down, Mike. I mean, on the yearly chart, this is looking pretty rough. But I will say, it looks like they came onto the market at a bad time. As soon as they came on the market, we saw growth stocks just get totally demolished. So I don't know. I'm not going to blame it all on CPNG, but I definitely got to eye up those fundamentals a little bit on this one too.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining the stream today. The market has been relatively red, so definitely keep that in mind. We have a lot of stocks trending to the downside today. But before we close out, I just want to thank all of you guys personally for joining. So thank you so much, Michael, Hunter, George, Vicky, I'm Fierce, Sean, Mason, Mike, Julio, Jerry, Iranical, Muscle, DCM, Raymond, and I think that's everyone. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. The market's going crazy, and be prepared for more volatility. Besides that, we hope you guys have a great rest of your day.